Welcome to the Caregiving Podcast. I'm Inga.
And I'm Julie.
And long story short, we have Caregiving. We are two momtrepreneurs who have built an in-home care business from the ground up, guided every step of the way by God's care and fueled by agape love. Almost 14 years later, we felt called to create this podcast as a resource for families with caregiving needs. Whether you care for a family member or are looking for advice on professional caregiving, we want this to be a platform to support you.
Each week, we will come to you with encouraging stories of families who have found the right balance for their loved ones, tips for how to care for them and you, and much more. We hope you continue to join us each week as we share in this exciting new journey together.
Hello, Sunshines, and hello, Julie. How are you this fine day? Is that good?
So good, Inga, so good.
It's so funny. If people only actually knew what happens here before we start a recording.
I know.
It's like 5 minutes of just complete nonsense.
Absolute nonsense. And what I'm hoping is I get it out of my system before we go live because... sometimes what comes out this mouth is a surprise to me, just like everybody else at the same time.
Yeah, you hear it the same time everybody else hears it. But it's great. I think really, honestly, Julie, that's what keeps people coming back. They just don't know what Julie's going to say.
And my mother's like, what is she going to say today?
Oh, it's like that dog taking a poo thing. You can't look away.
You just can't
it's just
look
a
away.
train wreck, and you know it's a train wreck, but you
have
just
to
can't
watch
look
it
away.
happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
It's
so
a thing.
if that's the way we describe ourselves,
Train wrecks
wonderful.
Or a dog taking a poo.
Oh man, speaking of that, man, we're cleaning up the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We had to really clean up around here. Here at our office, we've got this beautiful, nice, we've kind of let it go now because of the hot weather.
Yes.
But, man, everybody just uses it as a literal dumping ground with their dogs.
Yeah, it is. It's the neighborhood litter box.
Pretty much. It's really sad.
I'm really ticked about it.
I do see that quite a few of them have their little baggies.
Yeah.
And if we catch them, basically, hey, please make sure you clean up.
You do know this is private property. Yeah.
Yeah.
The problem is the motel next to us. Those people don't care. They're just here for the day.
Oh yeah, the visitors.
Mm-hmm.
They're just looking for a nice place for their dog, and it really is a nice place. I'm not sure how we got here in this conversation, but anyway, let's move forward. So, the topic today is really interesting.
Yeah,
disaster preparedness.
Yes,
and really, I think maybe we can go into your story. Then we'll get a little out of order. We're gonna. Let you talk about your disaster preparedness story. Then I'll chime in a little bit of some things that have been going on.
Yeah.
Then we'll do our verse, and then we'll actually go to the people who know stuff about preparing for disasters, not just us. So tell me your story.
Oh, it's been a crazy week. It's just been nuts. So this is the middle of the week now. Earlier in the week, there had been several lightning strikes down where my brother has the summer pasture. And we dealt with this last year where on one side of the highway, it just burned. The whole thing just, it was gone.
Yes.
And then it didn't jump the highway. Well, this year, unfortunately, it hit on the other side. And it started in this town of Nirata, which right now it's not even in a town. It's just where I was born and raised. So it will always be Nirata, right?
Yes.
And it started there and it just kept going and going. Yeah. And where my brother's cows are, he was just smart enough to say, I got to move those cows now. It is so tinder dry out there, and it's just windy. It's a perfect storm.
Yes.
And so 2 days ago, I called you, and I was like, I'm not coming into town, into work because Richard just called, and I need to go help him evacuate his cows.
Yeah.
And so went and grabbed the trailer, pulled down there, and just his group of friends and fellow ranchers were there. They'd already been pulling cows into the neighbor's corral where we could get them going. We loaded them up and took them all the way to his ranch, and it took several loads to get all of the cows home. And he was just thrilled that all the bulls, everybody just seemed to know that they needed to behave and just get out of there.
Wow.
Some of the other neighbors are now moving their animals. Richard was proactive enough to say, I'm not feeling good about this situation. So anyway, it's when you're in that kind of a situation, it's surreal. Mm-hmm. It's scary. On the one side of the mountains, you see the smoke and the plume and all of that. But even prior to this, the part that I left out was there's other fires going on. And the night before, I helped Richard with his mother in a whole many miles away from him, had to be evacuated from her home. And she wasn't home. So this is the thing. Mother isn't home because she finally went away for the weekend and all of this happened. So we'll probably never get her out again. But Melissa was at the house and had been planning to spend the night there. And all of a sudden the cops show up and said, you need to evacuate now. Right. So she calls Mother and says, what do you need out of the house? Mm-hmm. And all my mom said is, I want the top of the file cabinet. That's where all of my important papers are. Get those. I want my dog and I want the truck and the trailer and get out of there.
Yeah.
And so Melissa calls me and says, do you want anything out of Mom's house? And I'm just like, well, whatever Mom thinks is important. And she goes, well, the papers. So I called Mother because I am the person that they immediately they need me. I've got to go save the world. So I'm just like, Cheryl, what do you need? I'm on my way down there. And she's like, don't you dare go. And she said, based on the last couple of years that I've had, I know what's important in my life. And I just need the paperwork to help keep everything going if something would happen.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like,
she has really had to become just so strong through everything she's gone through.
So faithful.
So she's like, it's
so full of grace. And she's just, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And just get my important stuff. And don't you dare come down there. I'm just like, oh. And my daughter and I were talking about this going, oh my gosh, but what about that picture? And I had, when Melissa asked if I wanted anything to be saved, I had almost said, grab Dad's flag. From the military. And because I had bought in a beautiful frame, how they come in that triangle.
Yes.
And I was like, is that silly? And I was just like, right then it was more important to get Melissa out of there and Dixie the dog and, all of those things. So it really stopped me and said, what is important?
What is important? Mother
was right.
Mother and the dog.
Mother was right. Yep. Just get the human beings out and the rest of it can be replaced.
Yes. So the wild part about this is I had called you and you're like, I had called you to tell you a fire story and you're like, Mother's being evacuated, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh man, because in between those two fires is another fire happening with our friends in Dixon, Montana.
Yeah.
And turns out basically the Reese and Ryder, husband and 8-year-old son, were stuck at their pivot and being surrounded by this fire. So I'm talking to Caitlin, the mom, and she's just losing her mind because she's like, there's no cell service in there. Like I can get up to the highway. I can see Reese's truck. They won't let me go in there because they say if somebody has a vehicle and they can get themselves out, we're not letting anybody go in. So here this mother is like, my husband and my son are here. Thankfully they were with the pivot. So they're with water.
Right.
But finally on that deal, they end up, a friend of theirs that's a firefighter that got called to it was able to get Ryder in the truck, get him out. Reese stayed back because there was an older lady, I think she's in her 90s, a home of this older lady, and they were trying to protect the house. And so Reese stayed back to help keep water on it and keep water around it.
Wow.
And that I know of, they were able to save the house.
Yeah.
But so I'm calling you to tell you about this stuff that's going on. And you're telling me that Mother's getting evacuated. And then, shortly thereafter, you're like, I'm probably not going to be at work tomorrow. I might have to go tonight, just depending on what Richard says.
Oh my gosh.
So I think just the way that everybody worked together. And then you were telling us about once you got up there with Richard and all the people that had come together to help get those cows moved out, and even the gentleman that brought food for everybody.
Yep.
And it's just wild to me to see how people come together.
Yeah.
And I've always said, like, if you want to see people come together, go to a sheep show and watch a sheep get loose, because the people that will just literally swarm in a circle to help catch that.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like with this fire situation, is just all of these people coming together.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. Even you going out there telling me about the roads that you're traveling on to get these cows out, it's dangerous stuff, but everybody just comes to the table and is like, we want to help. And that is such a good news story in and of itself. The fires, it's sad. It's Mother Nature. It's going to happen. So how do we make the best out of these terribly horrible situations? And little 8-year-old Ryder, apparently, as the rest of us are freaking out because here he is stuck, surrounded by fire, essentially, he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
And they got him out of there and he was just ready to go back the next day. He wanted to go back out on those fires. So maybe it's going to create a little firefighter.
I was going to say he's going to be a firefighter.
Yeah. Just amazing.
Oh my
People
goodness.
are just so good.
Yeah, they really are. And what's ironic about all of this is prior to all of this happening, I knew that our next podcast was going to be about a disaster and being prepared for that. And I was like, this is all too weird.
Yes, it always is.
Yeah.
You pick a topic and then something happens that
applies to it.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay, that was weird.
Very crazy. We should pick something about going on vacation to
Oh, my
Hawaii.
word. Yes.
If that's how this works,
Yes,
right?
that's a great
Okay,
idea.
we'll have to think on that.
We will.
Okay. Well, anyway, so you got our good news stories early. I'm going to go ahead and read the verse, and then we're just going to move right into the topic and talking about disaster preparedness and what to do, different terms and things to know, how it impacts different areas, etc. So, verse of the day, this is going to be Proverbs chapter 27, verse 1. It says, "Do not boast about tomorrow, for you do not know what a day may bring."
Why did I pick that?
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
Yeah.
What I'd like to know is, did you have the verse before the situation?
I did not.
Okay. I was like,
didn't.
that would be even better, but
No, I couldn't fib on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely did not. But when I was looking at Bible verses, I was like, that is, it applies to everybody every day. Just like when I go to hang up on the phone with somebody, I tend to always say, okay, goodbye, I love you. And,
yeah, we covered this, right? Because sometimes, the people maybe president of the Chamber of Commerce, but always say that I love you.
I love you.
Everybody needs to know their love.
That's right.
Regardless,
That's right.
So.
But yeah, it's one of those things. We all think that we have big plans for the future. in the turn of a dime, things can change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, good verse. So listeners, if you have good news stories, if you have verses that you'd like to share with us, please email those to thecaregivenpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We love to share. Julie loves to have stuff to pick through, and oftentimes it just hits. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, lead us into this. Let's talk about it.
Oh, my goodness. What we're going to talk about is disaster preparedness and recovery for older adults.
Sure.
But it's going to be able to apply to everybody actually during this. And ours just happens to be the fires because we live in Northwest Montana.
Right.
There are people that deal with floods all the time. There's hurricanes in other areas, volcanoes.
Yep.
I mean, there's all of the natural disasters.
Just depends on where you live. And
what it is. And we're going to talk about that, knowing where you live. And it's just shocking, some of the places where you can get information dependent on earthquakes or whatever it is. There's so much to learn.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so basically, while everyone is at risk during a natural weather-related disaster or similar emergency, older adults can be especially vulnerable during these challenging times. So being prepared in advance can literally mean the difference between survival and death, particularly for those who have special medical or mobility needs. So we're going to just go into this article and talk about things that you can do.
And weather and climate things, they're on the rise.
Oh, boy.
There's lots and lots of things that seem to be happening more and more. Extreme events include drought. And actually, I'm dealing with drought right now because it has been so dang hot this summer that all of the big, beautiful grass that we had when we let the cows out, it's gone.
Yeah.
And so we're literally every night thinking about what are we going to do with our animals?
Right.
Are we going to have to sell them? Are we going to have to buy more hay?
Well, and then the thing is there going to be more hay available? Yeah, no, it's big deal.
Yeah.
Same thing at the sheep farm.
Yeah.
I mean, you have bigger mouths to feed, right?
They are bigger than a sheep. I actually even called my insurance today on my farm policy and said, hey, I'd like to up the amount because hay is even more expensive.
Right.
There are so many things to think about because one of the people that I know down in Nirada, they did a backfire and it jumped the highway and it took out 150 bales.
Oh my God.
So
and I'm assuming big bales.
Oh yeah, the big rounds. So they're 1,500-ish pounds and times 150. That's many tons of hay that rancher now isn't going to have for this winter.
Oh man,
So
that's devastating.
it's once again, so much to think about.
So basically, like we had kind of been saying, like the first thing is just learning about what kinds of disasters are most likely to affect you or your family, just based on where you live. You talked about flooding. Basically, obviously, communities that are near water, they're going to be more susceptible to that flooding. People that live closer to the forest are going to be more susceptible to wildfires. Basically, one of the things that they talk about is really developing a plan, right? Yeah. And I thought about this actually. So we just went to Under the Big Sky, that huge concert. And there are 20,000+ people there, and you're back in the woods. I mean, well, it's cleared out, right? It's just gorgeous. The venue is just amazing. But I was thinking to myself, I even said to Kevin, like, hey, we didn't make a plan with the girls. If we get separated after this, right. we never said, or what do we do if we're in here and something happens? We didn't talk about that. Yeah. Like we'd never been there before. Yep. But we now know for next year, hey, we're going to have a plan of.
One of the things that Callie said, because she went to it, walkie-talkies.
Yes.
Because there was no cell service. So that's what she said. Next time I go with a group, we're going to have walkie-talkies.
And it's wild because when you're coming out of there, there are train tracks that go through and there's a tunnel that 20,000+ people are funneling out of this tunnel to get out of this venue. Yep. And like, I'm pretty claustrophobic, right? So the other thing that we learned is next year we will just stay until, I mean, we're just going to sit there. Why not? It's beautiful. You're out in the country.
You're going to sit there. The weather was great. In your car.
And literally, or stand in the middle of all of these people. And I'm like, I can understand how somebody falls down and you get trampled. Yep. I mean, I can see how those things happen
all the time.
Yeah. Crazy, but
it's really scary.
Yeah. So your timing on this topic is just beautiful.
Well, and when you bring that up where my husband works, they have a beautiful private community subdivision, but it's up in the woods and it's up in the mountains and there's all kinds of rocks and cliffs and all of these things. Well, there was only one way in and out.
Sure.
So he literally had to take his cat and build a secondary road in a different place so that they had an exit for emergencies. Yep. Because if one thing gets blocked, just like in your house, if you have only one door
out, and
then it's blocked because of whatever,
you're
what
in
are
trouble.
You gonna do?
Yeah.
So you've got to think about everything. I mean, when we opened this, we had to say, which doors would you go if you were in what room? Like hotels.
Yeah.
This is the plan.
Yep. I was thinking about that because we have our little like hand-drawn maps posted around of like, this is your evacuation plan. Yep. We had to get big exit signs above the doors. And yeah, crazy. Anyway, so basically the plans should include your evacuation routes and like a location or a shelter somewhere that you're going to go, right? So state, county, and local governments will often set up emergency shelters or evacuation centers for people that are affected by disasters. It just depends on where you are, you know, what level you're going to end up with a facility, but
well, so for the fire that's affecting my family right now, in Polson, they said, we are set up to take big animals. If you have no place to take your horses and your cows, bring them to the Polson Fairgrounds.
Right.
If you have smaller animals, take them to Ronan Fairgrounds because they're set up with smaller pens.
Right.
And so they were differentiating where to take them. And then lots of people, I even had people that knew what I was going through reach out and said, hey, if you need us to come and help you, or if you need a place to put your cows for a while, we can do this.
That's awesome.
Lots of people have lots of plans. You just have to be, we don't think about it till it happens.
I mean, it basically says that you need to be talking to people about these things, right? So you need to talk to your friends, you need to talk to your family, your caregivers, neighbors, so that everybody kind of knows. Yeah. When it hits the fan, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. I think another important thing is to identify specific people that you trust and you know you can count on that are going to be willing to help you in a crisis, and just know who that is. It's like the medical release or medical whatever. Who's your emergency contact? Who do you reach out to when it hits the fan? Yeah. So then they also say that basically, like Cheryl, the important papers, right? There's a lot of that needs to be protected. So protecting those important documents, things like identification, social security cards, passports, birth certificates, possibly like health and dental insurance things, medical records if you have them, you would like to think that your doctor's offices and the hospitals and everybody would have those, but if you have possession of any of your own, and then also like insurance policies and then other family and emergency contact information. I think about this. I get a bill in the mail every 3 months or something because way back when I put Bailey on like that Gerber grow up plan or whatever. And I'm like, who would know that other than me? Nobody's going to know that.
I tell you what, I have been really pulling together my end of life stuff.
Yeah.
And then for Christmas, I got this thing and it's heavy as heck, but it's this size.
Yes.
And
is it like a safe or
it's
fireproof?
A safe,
yeah.
Fireproof safe to put all of my documents in. Is it empty right now? Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think all of ours are in a folder from North Valley Hospital from
that
when
says
Bailey was born.
Stuff.
Oh, it's very vulnerable, I would say.
Yeah, I was just like, I have got to just take a day and just at least start putting stuff in there. At least it will be a start.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm so organized and I'm thinking, oh.
The other thing,
shoot.
In addition to that fire safe, waterproof, fire, whatever, digital, you can scan those documents and save them digitally.
But then let people know where they're at.
Yes. Because here's the thing. I was thinking about this. Nobody is going to come looking for, like, if there's an insurance policy or something, a benefit, the insurance company isn't going to come looking for you if you don't go looking for them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to know. People have to know where it is and what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, knowing the weather and staying informed is really important. And they do say that basically you can do that on like a FEMA app that's going to include real-time weather alerts as well as information for use before, during, and after any disaster. There are a lot of different apps out there, I'm sure, that you can look at. I have some weather app. I think it just came on my phone. You would like to think, I mean, on the news generally or on TV, if there's something going on, like in our area, say there's a severe storm warning or something, it's going to show up on the bottom of your TV screen and make that awful, like that noise, beeping, that alert noise,
screaming thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of look into your area and see where the sources are that you can have access to this information.
They even have an earthquake notification service.
Yeah. Probably in like California and stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that weather app that you're talking about, I have one too. And literally, Callie is going to Arizona State University, and so, but she had come up here for a couple of weeks to help us with an event and everything that we were doing, and then we were looking at the app, and so far, well, I think it broke yesterday because it had been 30 days consecutive that had been over 110 degrees. I think yesterday it was 108.
That is
and
crazy.
When she came up here and she was getting ready to go, I was like, you know what, you don't have to go right now.
Right.
You have nothing down there except you're an apartment.
Sure.
Not a big deal.
Right.
You know, we'll work around that.
Yeah.
But why would you go down there just into misery? But then I keep her here where there's fires. You know?
I know. We always, try to do the right thing.
But that app, every day we're looking at it. And I'm looking at our local map every day, praying for rain.
Oh yeah. I just live in ignorant bliss, and I'm like, the weather's going to be what the weather's going to be.
Oh,
Am I wearing
but
shorts today?
You
or
know, when you just,
I know.
I will look at it and I'm just like, do we have a chance in heck that we're going to get any good weather?
Yes.
Not thunderstorms and lightning.
I know.
Just
That's what's
some rain.
killing us right now, is
Just
those
some rain.
lightning strikes.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so things you can do: stock an emergency kit, right? Okay,
yes.
And emergency kits should contain things such as like water. They say a gallon per person per day for several days of water, right? And our biggest thing is like, if we ever went without water, what would we do with the animals? That's the big concern for us. But anyway, food, you want to basically have a several day supply of non-perishable food, and a manual can opener.
Yeah.
Got to have a way to get into it, right? Battery powered or hand cranked radio for weather and evacuation information. I'm pretty sure my dad and brother have those like old school radios. What were they? Ham radios, or I don't remember. Is that what it is?
Sounds like it.
Anyway, I could be completely off base.
I fell for it.
Flashlight or headlamps with extra batteries. I am a big fan of the headlamp myself. First aid kits, dust masks, plastic sheeting, duct tape to help filter any contaminated air. I mean, this is getting pretty deep, but
Yeah.
this is in best case scenario if you can have all of these things.
Right.
Soap, hand sanitizer, hygiene supplies, wrench and pliers, basically. I mean, just, yeah, a whistle. Oh, man. Did I tell you about my experience at I think it was it the Denver airport? It was some airport that I was at recently. No, it was in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Some poor guy got a whistle, the worker, and essentially I think they'd had enough of people. You know, when you drive up to the airport and then you just stay there until you wait for your person, and maybe you show up a half an hour early and then you're just parked there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this buddy got a whistle and that was not allowed. I thought I was going to lose my mind. He was just blowing that thing for everything he had. Down, up and down the line. It never stopped for like 10 minutes. It was just whistle, whistle,
Were people
whistle.
listening to him? Or?
Well, yeah, but then, I mean, they would move, but then the next person would come up and like, for the love of God, please make the whistle stop. Anyway, so get yourself a whistle.
Yes.
It's annoying enough that someone will pay attention that there's a problem, I think is the deal.
I probably don't need a whistle.
Yeah, don't give Julie a whistle. Cell phone with chargers, backup batteries, maps, change of clothing and sturdy clothes. Okay, so that one... Have you seen the memes on, I don't know, Instagram, whatever, Facebook probably, about like based on the things that are in my suitcase, I have planned to like have crapped my pants at least every single day of my trip because I have enough underwear for that.
Yeah.
Now, I want you all to know I have never crapped my pants, but I do plan as though I'm going to. So when the packing clothes, I would probably have 10 pairs of underwear. Need one, but just in case.
Right? Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
Anyway, back to business. Make sure you have your eyeglasses, hearing aids, things like that are crucial to you being able to hear and see. Super important. I always say if I don't have my glasses, I'm in big, big, big trouble.
Right.
Yeah. And then any medications, whether that's over the counter, whether it's prescription, make sure you have those with you. And then again, any sort of that essential health paperwork. Documents.
Yeah. When Bailey went into the Peace Corps and went to Morocco,
Yes.
I did up her little first aid kit and medicines, and
Yes.
I'm just like, well, you might get a tummy ache, and you might get this, and you might get sunburned. But what if a spider bites you? We need this, and I had to keep it in this.
She's probably like, oh my God, I can't go if all these things are going to happen to me.
Yeah, but truly, she was going to have no access to any of that.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think of all the things.
That's
but
important.
keep
That's
it
smart.
from. She could only take like 100 pounds of stuff for 2.5 years.
Jeez.
Yes.
Ew. Also, have a plan for your furry friends, which we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they need to be considered in these situations as well.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Oh boy! So consider your medical needs. This is where it really comes into play. Do you have somebody that's got Alzheimer's disease and needs extra assistance? Do you have, for them, do they have a favorite pillow, or do they have a blanket or something that is going to help them be comforted?
Comfort.
And then lots of people are on very specialized medications.
Yep.
What if you're on oxygen? How much do you need to get through how many days?
Well, yeah. And do you have a portable situation or do you have,
Yeah. And then,
I mean, the biggest thing that we can tell you is don't have any disasters.
just don't
Start with
just
that.
Don't
But
do
if
it.
you must,
Right. Oh my gosh.
be as prepared as you can.
Yep. And then plan your evacuation route, like you said. Keep the emergency kit updated, stocked, easily accessible. Take time to practice your evacuation plan with your family and neighbors.
This is a drill.
Oh my goodness! Learn and practice how to safely leave your home. Knowing how to turn off the water and gas, anticipate road closures. That was something that we actually had to work through. Highway 28 was closed, but when Richard came through, he said, we're evacuating cows. And so they said, we'll remember this vehicle. Anybody with you can go through,
Right.
but once.
You get one.
So we got one pass. And then the rest of the time we had to take all of the back roads and all of that.
Oof.
Yeah. So
That's wild.
we really had to, and once again, I felt pretty important when I got to go past all of the the cones and everything where nobody else got to.
But we all know that the most important was the niece, Brookie.
Brookie was
The young
leading the
niece who was
convoy.
leading the pack. What is she, 15, 16?
Yeah, she was pulling a big old trailer by herself.
What a girl.
She's
That's awesome.
quite the cowgirl. Yeah. You know, the thing is, if you don't drive, you better have somebody arranging to be able to pick you up. You
Yep.
don't wait till then and say, hey, do you happen to
now I
still
need
be
a ride.
here?
Yeah.
How many times do you see on the news where there's been a flood and people are, they're just stuck?
Stranded, yeah.
And boats have to come get them or have them climb out of a window. You know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big deal. That's scary. Once again, some people cannot move by themselves. There's no mobility. That is when we have to extra be careful that we have everything in place for that person.
Yeah.
Because if they can't, even on a good day, move themselves, if they're under crisis situation, it's going to be that much harder.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and like you said, FEMA has a really great website to expand on all of these things we're talking about, and Centers for Disease Control. There's Red Cross. Red Cross always comes to the aid of people. We have this really cool little preparedness guide, and we're just going to briefly go through it because there's some really good tips and tricks.
Yeah, what I thought was really interesting in this book is honestly, it kind of touches on the different types of disasters that might happen in different areas. But what I loved about it is they gave these actually terms to know.
Yeah.
So basically, I thought we would just talk about that a little bit. So like if you're in an area where thunderstorms might be an issue, some terms to know is like severe thunderstorm watch. Basically, that means that severe thunderstorms are likely to occur. But a severe thunderstorm warning means that severe thunderstorms have been spotted and people in the path of the storm are in danger. So we're watching, right? That means it's probably going to happen. If it's at a warning, that means, hey, we've seen it. It's happening. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you've got flooding. Terms to know with flooding. So a flood watch, basically it means that flooding is possible within 12 to 36 hours. A flash flood, this means that flash flooding is possible and could occur without warning. Prepare to move to higher ground if you are at risk. I mean, we've had some of that around here, honestly, those flash floods where it just rains so hard, so heavy, so fast that like if you're driving, it's you can't see, you can't.
It's so dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
Actually, the big flood of 1964 decimated Evergreen.
Yep.
My husband, they had a house. They were out of town at the time, and it completely, I mean, there was mud, there was stuff, not a lot was salvageable in their home. And their dad had even built them a basketball court, and piece of it just went floating by. The neighbors were able to get their cows out, but because they were in a lower area closer to the river, it just wiped them out.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think about flooding here as a normal thing, right? But it can happen.
Well, every spring they're always talking about some of the places along the river.
Yeah.
And I live up higher, so I don't think about flooding, but it has happened, and there's pictures.
Oh gosh. Was it, how many summers ago was it in Yellowstone National Park where basically literally buildings got just swept into the river?
That was what, 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Is all.
We should see if we can put a video of that on here.
We can.
We know a girl.
We do.
Pretty savvy.
Evacuation efforts still underway after historic flooding ripped apart roads and destroyed bridges in the Yellowstone region. The park stretches across parts of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. Part of the Yellowstone River reached levels yesterday never before seen, 2.5 feet higher than the previous record. That's from the National Weather Service. Here you can see a home collapsing into a raging river, floodwaters eating away at the riverbank and sparking catastrophic mudslides. No official word yet on the number of homes ruined.
Cool. Okay, flood warning. Flooding is or soon will be occurring. Evacuate immediately if advised. And then the flash flood warning. Flash flooding is occurring. Move to higher ground at once. So kind of seems like the watch is the, hey, you need to be paying attention, and the warning is you better take action.
You better be doing something.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Cars can be swept away in just 1 foot of moving water. That's this much.
Yeah. That's
I
not a lot.
I would have thought a lot more. So 1 foot that's scary.
That is very, very scary.
Yeah.
If you are experiencing a flood, stay tuned to your radio or TV. Just pay attention, I think, is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's to me. I'm telling myself, pay attention.
Well, there's a lot of people that are like, I was born and raised here and I'm going to die here. I am not leaving my property.
Well, and I wonder, I don't have the facts for fact, but I wonder about the house that Reese stayed back to help try and save. And I suspect that it's one of those situations where, like, this is my house, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I think it happens.
More than we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on hurricanes, again, hurricane watch means that it could be possible within 48 hours. The warning, it's expected within 36 hours. A storm surge, this is a dome of water pushed ashore by a hurricane force wind. And then storm tides, these are storm surges combined with the normal tides. So that's so powerful, powerful stuff. Tornadoes, basically, if you get a tornado watch, it means that they're possible in your area. You want to stay tuned to your TV or radio and watch the sky. And then the warning, it's basically the tornado has been sighted. So you need to take cover at once.
So a hurricane winds can range from 74 miles an hour to 150. A tornado is the violent rotating storms with winds that can reach 300 miles per hour.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but hurricanes, are they more based around water? And then the tornadoes are more on land?
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's
We
what
don't,
I'm
again, we don't know. We could be saying
I've never
things that are
had
not.
to.
Sammy gets, she gets that in Tennessee.
That's true.
They get those warnings
I
and
actually
watches.
asked you
and
before if it was impacting her where she lived.
Yeah. Yes.
Huh.
So she's
well, we had those clients sorry,
You're
I just
fine.
was so rude. But we had those clients that actually lived in Florida, but for
Florida. Florida?
All right, Alyssa. But for August, September, and October, they came up to Montana because they just wanted to be away from the hurricane season.
Yep. Doesn't sound like a season that I want to participate in
not
at all.
Oh, yucky.
Yes. So then earthquakes, basically aftershock, that is an earthquake of lesser intensity that occurs after the main earthquake. So something to look forward to.
Oh, good Lord.
Epicenter, this is the point on the Earth's surface directly above the focus of the earthquake. A fault is a fracture in the Earth's crust, and then the seismic waves, these are vibrations that travel out from the fault at hundreds of miles per hour. These waves are the leading cause of damage in an earthquake.
Oh. And that's what causes then those tsunamis that can wipe out a whole section or a whole town that's along the coast. And it just builds up and up and up and up. And you don't even know. Sometimes it's happening under the water.
Yep.
Miles and miles down.
And then all of a sudden, boom.
Oh, crazy. Something that does affect us is winter storms.
Yes. Yeah. Freezing rain, that is a bugger.
I hate
it. It's bad. So basically that is rain that freezes on contact with roads, trees, sidewalks, etc. And a lot of times when that freezing rain is happening, you're not even aware of it. Right. Yeah.
Until you step and then you're on the ground.
Yeah.
Been there,
Do you
done
know?
that.
I was going to say, do you know from experience?
I do know.
Yes, it's brutal and very bad with when you're driving.
So bad.
Sleet, this is rain that freezes before it hits the ground. Winter storm watch just means that a winter storm is possible in the area. A blizzard warning, which we get on occasion. Winds or gusts of 35 miles per hour or greater, along with snow, are expected to last at least 3 hours or more. Lots of kids really, really like that in the
Snow
in
day.
the wintertime because it's a snow day, right? But the thing is they're tough enough. If they stay home from school, they're tough enough to still go out in it, right?
yeah.
Because Montana kids we've got this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the winter storm warning is just that the winter storm is occurring or will begin soon. And then the frost or freeze warning, temperatures are expected to drop below freezing.
Right. Yeah. And prior to that, everybody needs to winterize their houses, winterize their vehicles.
Yep.
Just get prepared for that. That's a yearly thing. Around here, we're totally used to it. Some people that have been moving up here lately are going to be shocked when it hits them.
Yeah. So I think since we are actually in the middle of summer, it would also be prudent to discuss a few terms of summer weather things to know.
Yeah.
So heat wave. This is a period of extreme heat, and it's usually accompanied by high humidity. So is that what's happening in Arizona while Callie's here?
They have a different kind of heat than us. Yeah.
Heat index. This is the relative humidity that is added to the air temperature, basically how hot it feels.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we've got heat cramps. Have you ever had a heat cramp?
No.
Oh man, this is muscle pains due to exertion, the first sign of heat-related problems.
No, I don't
even
exert myself when it's that dang hot out.
Why? Why would you do that? Gosh, I know when we just did the Montana Royal and we were in the building, I would start out in the building and I felt like I was okay throughout the day, but then I would step outside and it was like getting punched in the face by the heat.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
We were so thankful to have that beautiful building.
Oh yeah, and the literal big ass fans. That's the name of it. I didn't swear on purpose. Just above, yeah. And there's a couple places in the barn that are pretty good spots to be.
Yeah.
I'm noting those for any time I have to go into that barn when it's super hot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So heat exhaustion, this is a mild form of shock that's brought on by strenuous activity in the heat, and then heat stroke. Honestly, a life-threatening condition, and this occurs when the body's temperature control system actually shuts down.
Yeah.
Brain damage or death can result if the body is not cooled at once.
Oh.
And I mean, we've had. Would you say that the situation at Montana Royal a couple of years ago was a heat stroke situation?
It was the beginning
where
of it for sure.
Yeah, where the young lady just literally went down in the ring. We had to get her out, get her cooled off, and thankfully, shortly thereafter, once she was cooled down, everything was fine. But that could have been very, very, very.
For anybody older, it would.
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
Moi.
That was a dainty sneeze.
Oh, I
Good
am
job.
so dainty.
You
Thank
really
you.
are. You the most dainty.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
And we talked about the fires and everything. There's chemical disasters. We've recently had some train derailments, and that causes problems. And boy, there's a lot of disasters. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
We're done. We've had enough of this.
Let's just oh, gosh.
Basically just be prepared and know what could potentially happen in your area. Have a plan for evacuation if that's the deal. Have a plan. If you lose your power, if you lose water, just have a little forethought.
Don't think it can't happen to you.
Right.
That's exactly what the problem is.
Yeah, because it can happen to any of us.
Just like the Bible verse, don't be there. Tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yes.
So live your best life, be safe, and be smart out there.
Yes. So we're going to move into the grandma saying, or the terms, because this has been very enjoyable for me over this however long we've been podcasting, when a term will come up and you give a definition of what it actually means. So I was thinking something the other day about the term panned out.
Yeah.
And I use it, and obviously I must have learned it from somebody older, but that brought us to this. And so you're going to share with us what does panned out mean?
Right. So an example of using that term would be, she was curious to see how her friend's new relationship would pan out. So basically what it means, the phrase pan out was birthed from the blooming gold mining industry during the mid-19th century, specifically the California gold rush. Gold prospectors would use a shallow, flat pan to wash dirt and gravel in a stream. The pan had tiered rivets along the side, so the heavier gold particles would settle at the bottom, while the lighter materials were simply washed away. That's what's called panning. And so the unique process of panning for gold was a way to separate valuable gold from worthless materials, and the outcome of panning was always uncertain. So the term pan out was eventually used in a figurative way to describe how a situation or plan ultimately turned out or developed.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's awesome.
There you
So
go.
you just don't know what's going to happen, so we're going to wait and see how it pans out.
We don't know how this fire season is going to pan out.
Oh, man, it's rough. And they're everywhere.
And it's not going to stop.
We literally were at our farm just kind of walking around and assessing, like, okay, what happens if something makes it this far?
Yeah.
And thankfully, we don't have a lot of, we're pretty flat out there. And I guess the blessing at this point is there's not a lot of material in the fields for it to burn.
Right.
If it were to make it that far. But it's, just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So let's all say an extra prayer for those fires or
Let's do
wherever
it.
you are.
And our firefighters.
Yes, absolutely.
And all of that.
And all of the people that just pitch in to help. The Julies of the world that get the call from her brother and get in that truck and trailer and head down to help.
Jump on in and let's go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Julie. I love it. This was a great episode and something to definitely think about.
It's amazing how it's impacted us so much, and it just needed to be talked about.
For sure.
So take care of your people.
Yes. And if you have any good news stories that you want to share, any verses, any grandma sayings, any terms that you've heard that you just are curious about where they came from, please email those to the caregivenpodcast@gmail.com, and then go and subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you can and you haven't yet, please go and join our Facebook Care and Share group.
Yes.
Apaga Home Care.
Yes.
I think that's it. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
That's a lot. All right. Have a good day.